Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council Business Meeting for Wednesday, July 6, 2022. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Clerk, will you do a roll call for us, please? Okay, Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns is absent. Councilman Scanlon
Present.
and President Strawn.
Present.
That's 6 here, 1 absent. Burns. Okay, thank you very much. We will now go to the approval of minutes from June 22nd, 2022. Councilwoman Resnetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 22nd, 2022 business meeting and the June 27th, 2022 special business meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We all also have to approve the minutes from our June 22nd, 2022. I'm sorry, we did that. I thought, do we not have to do that? That's what I was thinking it was. I apologize, everyone. We have no special items from the committees. So we move on. We are in the midst of a 30-day public hearing for the CDBG action plan and budget. And as such, that public hearing remains open. So Mr. Clerk, will you tell folks how they could participate in that public hearing tonight? Yes, so this is the public hearing held again for RL 22-156 entitled A Resolution Authorizing the Mayor to Submit the FY 48 Annual Action Plan and Accept Any and All Funds allocated by HUD from CDBG, ESG, and Home Entitlement Programs. We didn't receive any communication written or an email, but if you'd like to participate now in the public hearing via Zoom, please click the raised hand button and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one. Thank you. Councilman Burns has joined us, I believe. Can you hear us, Councilman Burns? I see Councilman Burns. Can you hear us, Councilman Burns?
Yeah.
Okay, Councilman Burns has joined us.
I might be losing you, but I'm joining you.
While we wait just a moment on the public hearing, just for everyone, just a reminder to everyone, we will have a special business meeting on Monday, July 11th at 6 o'clock to formally act on the CDBG plan and budget. So as such, this public hearing will remain open till just prior to that meeting on the 11th. Okay, the public hearing will remain open, so we do not have to formally close it, and we will have public comment coming up. So if somebody joins us in a minute or two, they can use the public comment time. So we will move on to our public comment section of our meeting. And Mr. Clerk, you tell folks how they can participate in public comment this evening.
Okay, yes. So any residents wishing to speak, please click the raised hand button via Zoom, and we will allow you to speak one by one. And please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton.
Once again, any public or electronic communication for public comment?
No prior communication. Once again, anyone wishing to participate in public comment, please click the raised hand button via Zoom, and we will allow you to speak for 5 minutes. Okay, first up, we have Richard Geniasio. We will allow them to speak now for 5 minutes. And please state your name and if you're a resident or if you work in the city. Thank you.
Richard Giannaccio, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, a resident of the city of Binghamton and a homeowner and a senior citizen. And I observed yesterday's work session on YouTube, and there was a discussion about senior home repairs by the First Action, whatever it's called, First Ward Action Council, correct? Yes, I think so. And last year, there was a grant given by the city, I think it was $85,000 for this program, and I was hoping to be one of the beneficiaries. I was told I qualified. They came based on income, as the discussion yesterday reflected. They came, they took pictures, they took measurements, they sent somebody who was subcontracted to do the job, and it was all set to go. And then the office gave me a paper to sign reflecting eligibility based on assets. And I said, well, if this is the requirement, then I cannot sign this. So she said, yes, sorry for the misunderstanding. And yesterday's discussion said nothing about assets. It said based on income, which most of these programs are. And I was wondering why this was an exception. But they told me at that time that the city of Binghamton made up the requirements and that it was based on assets. So at that time, the repairs were limited to outdoor repairs because of COVID. They wouldn't do anything like fixing faucets inside, which they had done previously. And I qualified for a door to be installed to the entrance to my house because the one that was there was not the proper door. It was an inside door, and it was deteriorated and not properly installed. And as well as a storm door to go with it. So I would like to see that if any new program is established, that this misunderstanding be corrected in the legislation. If indeed it did exist, maybe the office made an error. But all I know is that the discussion yesterday among the city council had to do with income requirements, and that is the understanding with which you pass the legislation. Then the legislation should reflect that. And if it does reflect that, then I hope that I will be able to take advantage of the program's provisions, because I do have the income requirements of low income. Thank you very much. And that's what I wanted to address was this resolution. Oh, finally, also, when I looked at the agenda, they talk about affordable housing, and there's no mention made about the senior repair program. So there's a disconnect there, I think. And things are not looking like they fit all together the way they should. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that the situation is resolved.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please click the raised hand button via Zoom and leave it raised, and we will give you 5 minutes to speak. One last time, if anybody else is wishing to speak during public comment, please click the raised hand button via Zoom.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to end the public comment.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Scanlon. Seeing nobody else on the hand raised, we will end public comment and we will move on to our legislation this evening. We'll move on to our preferred agenda. Would anybody like anything pulled from the preferred agenda this evening? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. I'd like to please pull introductory ordinance 22-104 from the preferred agenda, please.
Okay. Would any other items anyone like to pull from the preferred agenda? Okay, Mr. Clerk, please walk us through the preferred agenda as adjusted.
Okay, the first item on tonight's preferred agenda is introductory ordinance 22-103, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Facility budget for CN event equipment and capital outlay.
Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 20-103? Proceed.
Okay, the next item on the preferred agenda is introductory ordinance 22-105, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 central garage budget for gas and diesel fuel.
Any questions? Ordinance 25.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-64, considered in the Public Works and Parks Committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Upper Susquehanna Coalition for a wetland improvement project at Sandy Beach Park.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-64? Okay, please proceed.
Okay, next we have introductory resolution 22-65, considered in finance. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Greater Binghamton Chamber of Commerce / Visit Bing to support marketing of arts, travel, tourism, hospitality, and events in the city of Binghamton.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-65? Okay, please proceed.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-66, considered in planning. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the American Civic Association to overhaul the HVAC system.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-66? Okay, please proceed.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-67, considered in planning. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the First Ward Action Council for use of CDY 46 and CDY 47 funds to support affordable housing development.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-67? Okay, please proceed.
Next, we have introductory resolution 22-68, considered in finance, and this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with CARES for use of CVY 45 and CDY 47 funding for the backpack and school supply program.
Okay, any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-68?
Mr. President, motion to accept the preferred agenda as amended.
I think we have one more, Councilman Scringy.
My apologies.
Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, and we have the last item here on the preferred agenda is introductory resolution 22-69, considered in the Public Works and Parks Committee. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Broome Tioga Bose's New York Summer Youth Employment Program for 3 workers for the Summer Fund Program.
Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-69?
Sorry
Okay.
for that, everyone. I'll
How's that?
motion the same thing, Mr. President. My apologies.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Mr. Clerk, on the preferred agenda as amended.
Okay, Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns. I think he logged off. I'll mark him as absent. Councilman Scanlon
Aye.
and President Strong.
Aye.
That's 6 ayes, 1 absent. Burns.
Okay, thank you for that. We will now move to our non-preferred agenda. And that will be introductory resolution 22-104, considered in finance. Councilman Scringy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand and ask for unanimous consideration for introductory ordinance 22-104, an ordinance to amend the 2022 budget to allocate ARPA funds to support fire station facility rehabilitations.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-104? Councilmember Friedman, go ahead.
Thank you, President Strawn. I have been going back and forth on how I feel about this piece of legislation. I've been thinking about it for a few days now, and I feel like I'm in a tough spot because I recognize how important our fire department is for the community, obviously, and the safety of the community. However, I always go back to kind of the same thing that I reference a lot, which are, well, 2 things really. One question I ask myself is this in the spirit of the ARPA funding, right? Is this what was really meant for us to spend this money on, thinking about how devastating COVID was and continues to be. And is this the best allocation of money from ARPA to help us recover from COVID? That's the first question I asked myself. Is this in the spirit of the legislation? And the second question I asked myself is, would my constituents want me to spend this money on this, right? And so far, anytime I talk to my constituents about what they think would be the best use of this money, capital improvements have never really come up. And, sometimes capital improvements make sense within the spirit of the legislation when it comes to like water and sewer or internet, broadband infrastructure. I get it, but most of it is about affordable housing. That's what people are suffering from the most. That was what something that was horrendously exacerbated by COVID, particularly once the eviction moratorium ended in the middle of winter in New York. I mean, that's the thing that's really the most urgent need. And as city council members, we're supposed to be fiscally responsible for the city, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm in a tough spot here because the fire department is so important, but I don't feel like this is in the spirit of helping the city recover and the individuals who were most affected by COVID recover from that and get back to where we were before. So that's where I'm at with this. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Riley, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President Strawn. Similar to what typically happens in our meetings, I kind of side with Councilman Friedman. From the beginning with the ARPA funds, I've become like a broken record that I always say the same thing about we were allocated the amount of ARPA funds because of the poverty in our city. And when we develop a plan and we allocate resources, we should prioritize those that were the cause or why we received the money. And as we assess allocating resources, we should ask, does this improve the lives or the overall well-being of the population, of the majority of the population of Binghamton? And capital improvements in some light do, because yes, we think about it would be added to the budget perhaps next year. It may add a burden to our taxes. You have to think about that. However, ARPA funds, as we talk about over and over, are to help us recover from the ills, the impact of COVID. And we received $46 million. Our budget is annually, this 2022, we had a 5-day process to review the allocations and proposed spending for 3 times as much for our budget. And I think if we put 3 to 4 days into 3 times as much of a budget in terms of review and handling our fiduciary responsibilities, we should have a plan as to how this money will be allocated, as opposed to hearing things that are brought before us without knowing how the rest of the money is intended to be allocated. We talked about this before, and the previous administration gave us a skeleton, and that subsequently changed. So what we have now, based upon the latest report from Mr. Shager, we have about 13 million left in ARPA funds. And when my constituents call me, they're not talking about rehabbing firehouses, fire facilities. And yes, anything that improves time to response, anytime that improves the quality of life of the firemen while they're dwelling in these facilities, we understand. But what they want to see is, again, I say housing over and over, increased housing, quality housing, increased support or structure surrounding the code issues and the violations. I get calls every day about the inequity in terms of how properties are evaluated. Now, I can't say if that's true or false. I wasn't on the visits. However, if we don't have the team to respond to the needs of the residents and we get the same reports over and over, then perhaps we should invest in strengthening our teams that will then support the upkeep and maintenance of rental properties and owner-occupied properties, so everyone feels valued in these respective areas. I digressed a bit, but we also moved about 21 million due to lost revenue, right? And we talked about that at length. So since ARPA was created to improve the well-being and livelihood of our residents, and we still have about 3 million in lost revenue that has yet to be allocated. You can say it's apple for oranges, but since it's already been allocated, we could move or request this funding come from lost revenue since it is available, and then really work to develop a bipartisan plan for the rest of this 13 million that reflects the requests we get on a daily basis, that reflects earmarking funds for the Teamsters that are still awaiting the potential of receiving COVID hazard pay. Let's earmark those funds so that if and when this happens, we have the money there. Let's earmark funds so that we can have programming that is dedicated to the youth, since we are no longer moving forward with the youth facility that was planned again under the other administration. I just think we need to look at the resources we have, come together and develop a plan and not idly pass things as they come, but make sure we are prepared for the times ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-104?
Call the question, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, can you do a roll call for us, please?
Councilman Scaringi,
Aye.
Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley,
No, nay.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Nay.
Councilman Burns appears to still be absent. Councilman Scanlon
Aye.
and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's four ayes, 2 nays, Riley and Friedman, 1 absent, Burns.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We will now move on to our communication portion of our meeting. And believe it or not, this is the first meeting of the second half of the year. It's crazy how this year is moving by. So that puts us back at the top with District 1 and Councilman Scaringi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't know I was first today. Just a few things. I hope everyone had a great July 4th and a very happy Independence Day time with your friends and your family. It turned out to be a really, really nice weekend. I want to thank the Parks Department as well as Mayor Cram and the Mayor's office for getting the Parks Department out to May Street and the First Ward Park with some issues that we had over there by the creek and taking care of that. And I know that's an ongoing issue, but they did a lot of work over there, and I just want to thank them for all of that. To the residents, to some of the residents that are up on Mount Prospect, There was a water issue at a main on Thomas Road, and the water department is aware of it. They're working on it, and they're obviously following up with that, but just wanted to communicate that forward. I would be remiss if I didn't give a big shout out to everyone working up at the Ely Park Golf Course. I have just heard, I don't know if it was because of the nicer weather recently, but it's turned dramatically around. So to see so many residents of the city that have been up there and leagues really coming back, that's just been a big cue for a jewel that we have here in the city. So I just want to thank everyone involved for that. Also, the DPW, the roads, the potholes, you've probably been noticing as well. A lot of people have been out striping roads, keeping those updated with paint and stuff like that. So I want to thank them for all their work. Also, we've had a number of demolitions in the ward over on Meadow Street, and a few others coming up, one more to be specific. And so I just want to thank everyone who supported that. And lastly, an announcement that I need to make. I recently found out I will be on active duty with the Air Force beginning on August 2nd. I'll be gone for about 8 weeks, and I will be back in September 30th, thankfully in enough time for budget season. I will still have access to phone, email, internet, tech, so I will definitely still be involved to the best that I can. I'll obviously work with my colleagues, council president, the mayor, and the clerk's office just to make sure that things tie up, but just wanted to get that publicly on the record and let everyone know that. And with that, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. We will now go to District 2 and Councilwoman Resonetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. No comments tonight. I hope everyone had a wonderful Independence Day weekend, and take good care. Have a great night.
Thank you. We now go to District 3 and Councilwoman Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Again, I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I hope everyone enjoyed the time off on the 4th. I would like to highlight all of the wonderful programs that are happening throughout the city. Shout out to the Parks and Rec team for trying to get the word out about some of the events that we passed here, like the Safety Town and the like. We together should be trying to promote it in our various districts, because I think it was then extended to other towns because we didn't have the response that we expected. So again, shout out to them for putting the pieces in place, and hopefully we can help market so that our youth have opportunities and are able to participate in such programs. Again, there are various activities happening in and around the 3rd District. I want to highlight some of the free exercise and reading programs happening at the NOMA Community Center at 85 Walnut. If you've not been by there, please feel free to stop by. There are some great things happening, especially on Saturdays with the food pantry that occurs. And that really concludes my report. Thank you to all of the city employees that continue to do their great work to keep the city moving forward. And everyone remains safe. You know, when it gets hot, people start driving a bit frantically. So be careful out there, mind the roads, mind those motorcycles, and enjoy your summer. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to District 4 and Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, President Strawn. Unlike my colleagues, I hope everyone had a terrible week. No, I'm just kidding. I also hope everyone had a wonderful long weekend. I had a chance to tour the Parks Garage recently. I incorrectly called it a warehouse. It's not a warehouse because that's where you store things. But the garage is where they work out of. And that was enlightening to say the least. So I wanted to also shout out the Parks Department for allowing me to come check out their facility. And I also wanted to let everyone know that there's a Northside Assembly meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Centenary Shenango Street United Methodist Church. And I think that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not see Councilman Burns logged back in, so we will go to District 7 and Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no comment tonight.
Thank you. I don't have much tonight myself. I do want to thank, I do see a lot of street work and things like that being done over on the south side and other places. So thank you to the hard work going in that, and hopefully that continues well into the fall. One other quick reminder, special business meeting on Monday, the Monday the 11th, to finish up the CDBG at 6 o'clock. And reiterate, hopefully everybody had a good 4th of July, like everyone else said. And I was out of town just for that day, and I understood it was like the Wild West in the city of Binghamton. Despite our best efforts and BPD's best efforts with the fireworks, I heard that there was quite a few fireworks displays across the city. So I'm hoping that nobody was injured. I know some people were inconvenienced. I got several calls on that. So hopefully we can do a little better next year, but part of that is just people doing their part and not obeying the city's rules. But I know BPD did their best to try to get out there and at least stop the worst of it, and at least ask people to politely to stop doing that. So, but hopefully most of it was in good fun for the 4th. And with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.